Frieza is black, and back again. Now that's a rather unique way to open up this YouTube video, but basically, long story short, Frieza is making a big mistake that he's made 5 times before. And in today's video, we will discuss all of this. So you're probably wondering, what is this big mistake that Frieza has made? Well, it all began on planet Namek, and it's the same thing that he's doing now. On planet Namek, Frieza had a lack of emotional control in his decision-making process. Because of this, when he was angry that he didn't get a chance to ultimately use the Dragon Balls because the wishes were already made and then they eventually turned into stone when Guru eventually died, Frieza lost control and went up against numerous characters that were all significantly weaker than him. Now, by significantly weaker, we mean significantly weaker, to the point where there's literally none of the characters that should have been able to last more than 10 seconds against Frieza, when you consider the fact that if he just fully powered up and just killed them right on the spot, there was nothing our characters could do. But because of Frieza's ego and his lack of emotional control, he wanted to exact his revenge and kill the characters slowly the way that he specifically wanted to kill those characters. And as a result of this, he dragged out a fight that never really needed to be dragged out, and basically gave our characters a chance to come back, which ultimately led to Frieza blundering on the chessboard, if you want to translate the terms, and losing to Super Saiyan Goku. Now, that's just planet Namek, but this isn't the only time Frieza has done something like this, because later on, when Frieza gets a second chance at life, even though it's not completely biological because he was essentially repaired, and what he does this time is that he essentially does not destroy the entire planet outright. Now, in this particular situation, there was a discrepancy that took place because originally, Goku was supposed to use instant transmission to come back and kill Frieza and King Cold, but for whatever reason, Goku did not decide to use instant transmission right away, which never actually made any Dragon Ball sense. This is something that I've thought about over the course of many years and tried to figure out what kind of headcanon could logically prove why Goku didn't just use instant transmission right away, but the honest truth is that the writers just wanted an excuse for Trunks to kill Frieza, so they just delayed Goku into doing it, and I guess the best headcanon would be that basically Goku hadn't fully mastered instant transmission or wasn't fully confident in it, so they made him chase Frieza with his spaceship when in fact Goku could have just come back to Earth from the very beginning. It's a cheap way to create tension, and as you learn more about Dragon Ball, you start noticing things like this. But going back to Frieza, I mean, even as said by King Cole, it was a situation where Frieza could have literally destroyed the entire planet from the absolute beginning, but he wanted to exact his revenge against the people that did all the bad things against him on planet Namek, which ultimately led to him dragging it out, which led to Trunks showing up and eventually killing him. Now, in the original timeline, it was Goku that did the exact same thing to Frieza, so we have a situation where both situations and scenarios are basically identical. The only difference is that a different character ended up killing Frieza. But the truth is that if Frieza just decided to just fly towards the planet, considering the fact that he can fly faster than his ship and because he can breathe in outer space, he could have just destroyed the entire planet from the get-go and planet Earth would have been nothing. Now, Goku obviously wouldn't be very happy about it, but Goku can't survive in space, so there's nothing Goku could have ever done to Frieza, and Frieza would have just defeated our characters even if he was technically weaker than Super Saiyan Goku. But because of his desire to exact revenge the way that he wants, he ultimately made that mistake, which led to his second death, which technically the first one, he didn't technically die, but you essentially get the point that we're coming with. But going back to the first encounter, the interesting thing about that situation is that Frieza had 2 direct chances to basically save himself, to which he did not take. Now, to be specific, the first time Goku basically surrendered, Frieza would have had a fully intact body, and Goku just flew away calling it a day. But Frieza did not like this, threw a homing Destructo Disc at Goku's face, sliced his cheek open, Goku came back, beat him up again, Frieza basically had his body decimated by himself, and then Goku gave him a second chance after Frieza tried to kill him the first time. And then what does Frieza do with this opportunity? He uses this opportunity to try and kill Goku, which ultimately leads to him losing his entire body this time, and he has to essentially be rebuilt. So, the logical thing for Frieza to have done was to basically take the situation at hand and say, hey, I can't beat this guy, obviously, and fight and live another day. But he doesn't decide to do this and ultimately puts himself in a worse situation. Now, when we get to Resurrection of F, this is once again one of the things about Frieza where he made another big mistake, but this time it was more specifically in his training and also the fact that he dragged the fight out once again. Now, in his Golden Frieza state, as mentioned by Goku and Vegeta, one of the problems with Frieza was specifically that he didn't fully perfect Golden Frieza to the point where it drew out his stamina. So, in a very similar way to the first fight that Goku had against Frieza, Frieza could compete very, very well until his energy started to burn out. And when the fight continued later on, Goku and Vegeta were just simply more consistent, and they basically just beat Frieza. But the bigger problem with Resurrection of F was specifically what led up to Goku and Vegeta coming in the first place. Frieza could have once again just easily have destroyed the entire planet from the very beginning, but he wanted to exact his revenge against Goku and then to his surprise Vegeta, which ultimately led to his defeat again. Frieza always underestimates his opponents, and that's why in this particular situation, he eventually got killed all over again. But guess what? Dragon Ball Super Broly is no different, because this time, Frieza once again has the upper hand. He comes to planet Earth, he has ambitions, and he wants to get the Dragon Balls to make one of the most absurd wishes in Dragon Ball history. But this time specifically, when Frieza is back, he really could have just taken his Dragon Balls, summoned Shenron on possibly another planet. It doesn't matter if the Dragon Balls get scattered, because he could have just blown up Earth when everybody was off guard, and he would have accomplished his goals completely. Why Frieza chose not to do this is left up to interpretation. You can maybe say maybe because he had another chance at life, that he did not want to risk Goku and Vegeta tracking him down in the universe, or even potentially Beerus, who is an even bigger threat to himself. But for whatever reason, Frieza could have easily accomplished his ambitions without the need to bring his spaceship to planet Earth and do any of that. Considering the fact that Frieza can fly way faster than his spaceship, it never actually made any sense at all why Frieza ever uses a spaceship, period, considering the fact that it actually makes him take a lot longer to get to where he needs to go. And when you consider the fact that in Dragon Ball Super Broly, Frieza basically had the fight won without even needing to fight, but he threw the opportunity away because he wanted to once again exact his revenge against Goku and Vegeta, but this time through the threat of an enforcer, which he got from Paragus in his son Broly. Now, where does all of this eventually lead us to in today's video? Well, this leads us directly into the most recent manga chapter, in which Frieza is once again making a huge mistake. And this time, it is the fact that he is sparing the life of Goku and Vegeta. Now, in this particular case, we can't really get into Frieza's head. Maybe he has an intelligent reason this time as to why he's decided to spare Goku and Vegeta's lives. But to be specific, this is ultimately going to lead to his doom, as reported by Dragon Ball Super Hype in his Twitter updates, where he was basically talking about the fact that as of the future, Goku and Vegeta are going to be training to fight against Black Frieza. Now, this would directly tie into Dragon Ball Super Superhero, where we see them training on Beerus' planet, and they also have Broly there. Now, with all of that said, if you have a situation where Goku, Vegeta, and even Broly can all potentially be training to defeat Frieza, then when you also combine the fact that you have Orange Piccolo and now Beast Gohan that are all allies, even though Frieza's technically stronger because he trained for 10 years and got this strong, he's essentially giving away a good position on the chessboard to basically spare Goku and Vegeta for an unknown reason that we don't know. Now, the reason is that the plot obviously doesn't want to kill Goku and Vegeta because they're supposed to be alive, but for whatever reason, Frieza's underestimating the potential of not only the Saiyans, specifically, but also himself, because he's putting himself in a situation where he's giving his enemies an opportunity to come back and defeat him. Now, the biggest irony about all of this is that this is all counterintuitive against the character of Frieza from the very beginning. Because if we go back to the very beginning, what is the one thing that Frieza has always feared? He's always feared the threat of a Super Saiyan, which is why he wiped out the entire race. But despite fearing the threat of a Super Saiyan, he still allows all of these mistakes to happen and allows the Saiyans to always get an edge on him when in fact he's always in an advantageous position but always blunders it away because of his mindset. And ultimately, this is going to lead to his doom again because Frieza never learns his lesson as to why this is the biggest mistake about Frieza. He cannot allow his emotions to fully control his decisions.